Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. We are here full throttle. Jake is back in the studio for one of the most important episodes of the season, predicting all of the divisional round playoff games, spread bets, over-unders, you name it. Really excited to get into it. I mean, obviously the wild card weekend wasn't great, but that's just kind of how it goes. First round of playoffs, and we've learned now college and the pros.
Yeah, no, we've got the most exciting teams kind of coming back into business here. We've got Detroit back from the bye. They're going to be locked in this week. And, you've got the Chiefs, which always seem to make for extremely close matchups, the luckiest sort of outcomes you can possibly foresee. Always makes for entertaining TV for sure. So, looking forward to that this weekend as well.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to provide some commentary on the blowouts. Everyone criticizing college football for letting teams like Indiana, SMU
Hmm.
into the playoffs, giving byes to Arizona and Boise State. But we
Yeah.
see that exact same stuff here in the NFL, where
Yeah.
almost all these teams got blown out. Now, there were technically two upsets, the Texans and the Rams, but those were still blowouts. And I mean,
Right.
is it really much of an upset when those teams won their divisions and were at home?
Hmm.
They just didn't have as many wins as the wild card teams. It really was kind of disappointing, I thought, but we saw this last year as well. Outside of the Rams and the Lions game, every game was decided by double digits, I think. And so I think,
Right.
it just goes to show like in these types of environments, only a few teams are really capable of winning a championship, but we let more teams in because, it's fun to have more games and more
Hmm.
money and more ratings. And every once in a while, maybe you'll get a close game or, like last year, the 7 seed Packers upset the Dallas Cowboys, who were the 2 seed. But, even that was like a blowout, but it was obviously
Right.
like in a different flavor of a blowout. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
to
mean,
recap,
to your
yeah,
point though, I mean, they absolutely like there are teams in here that really should not have been like in the playoffs here. Like
no,
just even taking the first game here, the Chargers and the Texans. I mean, those two teams turned the ball over like 8 times or 7 times between the two of them. I mean, they're playing such sloppy ball. Neither of them looked like a playoff caliber team. I mean, it was kind of embarrassing football to watch, and there were even more potential turnovers. Like I think Herbert had 4 interceptions,
yep.
and then there was a fumble that was lost, but they recovered it. So that would have been
Hmm.
5 turnovers. And then the Texans were the same way. They had, or not three or not interceptions, but they had several fumbles. I think it was one pick, 3 fumbles, and two of them were lost. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just embarrassing. That could have been a 9 turnover game for two teams in the playoffs. That can't happen.
No, and I really do think that, the Bengals, and we've talked about this all season, but they got hot at the end of the year and they probably could have beaten a wide majority of
Yep.
these playoff teams. They had already
Hmm.
beaten Denver. They beat the Steelers on the way out of the season. I think
Yeah.
we all would agree they would probably have beaten the Buccaneers, the Packers, and they probably would have gotten the Chargers in a rematch, even though they had lost to them.
Hmm.
They probably would even beat the Texans this year. So, obviously it goes back to the whole like playoff committee. Obviously, we have objective metrics in the NFL, so there's no
Right.
way that could have happened. But, it's weird. Like the playoffs just feel weird. Like you have a 14 win Minnesota team not getting a bye, like literally losing out on the first round bye and the division win by that final game against the Lions, but then they
Yep.
go on to like get blown out. It's weird, man. Like you thought maybe
Hmm.
Minnesota should have, been seated higher just because, they lost their division doesn't mean that they should be a wild card necessarily, but they still get blown out. Like
Right.
a lot of stuff going on here, but it's interesting to talk about and compare to college football, I think. But yeah, getting into it, we're just gonna quickly recap the games of the wild card weekend. I just thought Justin Herbert had a probably his worst game of his career, and he's a player that he doesn't like have blow up games like this. Like he has rarely had a multi-interception game. He's only thrown three
Hmm.
interceptions in the regular season. One of them in this playoff game wasn't his fault, but the other three probably were. So it's just, yeah, I mean, they come out, get a 6-0 lead, and then just absolute pandemonium ensues. I'm
Yeah.
really disappointed in Herbert. I think that, coming off the playoff loss to the Jaguars a few years ago when they had that 28-point lead and he played clean ball. He wasn't overly productive in that game, but he had played clean and didn't turn it over, and they still lost that game. And here, plays extremely unclean and they lose the game. So he's learned to lose playoff games in every way. Hopefully the third time's better for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean it was very sloppy, like you said. It's just you know, it's upsetting to see the team go out that way, especially when they go up six and the Texans are off to a super slow start. I mean, I think
Hmm.
they didn't even score until like the final 2 minutes of like the second quarter. I mean, the Chargers had the momentum, going into those first two quarters there, and yeah, they just really let the Texans run away with this one. Basically, 32 points being scored within 32 minutes of game time is pretty wild to me. But yeah, hopefully, Herbert will learn from this and rebound that he can't be turning the ball over so much in such a high stakes game like this.
Yeah, he was really pressing, and it's remarkable that Lab McConkey accounted for like 70% of his
Yeah.
entire passing yards. It was like 187 of 240,
Yep.
something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
197 of 242. Very impressive.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's like the
wild.
one bright spot for the Chargers is like Ladd is having like a Puka Nakua type of season, and he
Hmm.
will probably have a lot of draft capital in fantasy next year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's just a big receptions monster. So,
Yeah.
but they do need another receiver there and a tight end
Yeah.
probably. So, moving on though, the Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I don't think any of us were really surprised by this. I don't think Russell Wilson even played all that bad. I mean, I think he actually had a decently good game. They just couldn't consistently get anything going on offense. They were able to stop Baltimore a little bit in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. And yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, Baltimore cruises on. Pittsburgh, continues to live in that just playoff void where they make the playoffs with 10, 9 to 10 to 11
Yep.
wins, and then they get bounced in the first round.
Yeah, they're well coached, but the talent I just think is kind of lacking a little bit there, and that's just kind of preventing them from making it anywhere in the playoffs. But yeah, Ravens are just looking elite. I would be really scared of any team that needs to face the Ravens here. I mean, it's going to be the Bills facing them, but like
Yeah,
that's a big matchup. That's a really exciting one. I mean, Derrick Henry is just looking unstoppable. I mean, what an incredible acquisition the Ravens made in taking Henry because he
I
is just
know.
pounding defenses. I mean, he's 30 years old and he's looking like he's fresh out of college the way he's running the ball. It's just impeccable.
It is wild to me that the Steelers are a defensive team. That's what they hang their hat on. And yet
Yeah.
they might have had the worst rush defense against Henry all year. I mean, he averaged like
Yeah.
7 yards a carry. I don't think any
Yeah.
other team gave up that much per carry to Henry against, the Ravens all year. So
Hmm.
really bad. And then Denver at Buffalo, also really bad. Denver coming out, getting a 40-yard bomb or whatever it was to go up by
Yeah.
7, and then just not scoring for the rest of the game. And Buffalo just absolutely crushing them. It just, these road playoff games, they're hard. A home team has such an advantage. We saw that in every one of these games except for the Washington game. And obviously the Rams played in Arizona. So that was a
Hmm.
little weird. But yeah, this home field advantage, I really think Buffalo, CJ Stroud's so good at home, Baltimore, Philadelphia, those are really strong home field advantages that, really came to play this weekend here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, it was a little spooky, the whole Denver Buffalo situation where, Denver starts out hot, makes it seem like it's going to be a game, and then they just can't do anything and Buffalo just rolls them. I mean, obviously home field advantage plays a part in that, but it's also just like I'm not sure what happened for the Broncos, after the first 5 minutes of the game. It's like they just didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough. I think the Broncos are ahead of schedule. I think I only had them winning like 5 games this season. So the fact that
Hmm.
they made the playoffs, Bo Nix had a really great rookie year. They're ahead of
Yeah,
schedule. I think they'll be fine, but not your great effort, especially when you put up against Jaden Daniels and
right.
CJ Stroud last year, rookie quarterbacks in their first playoff games. Jaden Daniels also on the road, and having much better performances.
Right.
Green Bay at Philadelphia might have been one of the most predictable games. Both teams banged up at quarterback, so the under hit and Philadelphia just kind of pulled away. Green Bay really struggled to get anything going. Another just horrible performance out of the quarterback. You got 7 total interceptions between Herbert and Jordan Love, quarterbacks that we think are top 10. But yeah, they are just, ugh, this is rough. I mean, Jordan Love's last two playoff games, I think he's thrown five interceptions to like two touchdowns. Because against San Francisco last year, he wasn't great. He was better than he was, though, against Philly here. All these quarterbacks, they're just pressing, trying to make plays that just aren't there. And
Right.
the Eagles didn't even have to do much. I don't think they all played that well offensively,
Well, they
so
didn't. I mean, they honestly didn't. I mean, they still won by double digits. Like it just wasn't a very entertaining game to watch. Not
no.
a lot of excitement happening, not a lot of crazy big plays or, exciting scores. Just
Yeah, and the
you
one
know,
play that could have been big, Saquon slid there at the end of the
yeah,
game.
exactly. Yeah, just saving the clock. So or trying to run out the clock for everyone. So yeah, it is what it is, but definitely not the most exciting game to watch.
Yeah, no, but this one definitely was. Washington at Tampa Bay, back and forth all game. And then
Hmm.
Baker Mayfield's costly fumble there at the end is what cost them. Really, I mean, I think that was part one. And then part two is you got third and one, what, like on the 15, 16 yard line. And well, I think it was second and one. Then it's third and inches. And then on the fourth down play, they lose yardage. It was horrible. It was tough to
Yeah.
watch that series there of play calling and
Mhm.
execution. Timing was just off. So, yeah, the Commanders take advantage. Jaden Daniels played truly an immaculate game. Really impressive out of him. He has defied my expectations. I was looking back on our preseason picks, and yeah, this is one that I got horribly wrong, along with the Broncos, along with the Jets. I'm just really impressed with how he's played, and I thought the staff and the coaching staff around him wouldn't be as great as they really have been.
Yeah.
So, props to them. I think this whole wild card weekend, who the true winners are, the Detroit Lions. Not only do they
Hmm.
get to face the sixth seed, but they had both of their divisional rivals knocked out of the playoffs, who they swept. And we all know how hard it is to be the team three times. So if they had faced the Packers or the Vikings, especially a third time, I think it would have been very difficult to pull that off. They're gone. You get to face the six seed Commanders. Good
Hmm.
story, but you're a 9.5 point favorite for a reason. You should be able to cruise to the championship with ease.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. This really worked out quite nicely for Detroit's, but I do have to give props to both of the QBs in this game because I really didn't anticipate either of them having as good of a season as they did, and they played good ball in this game. I mean, no
Yeah.
interceptions by either of them. I mean, you look at the difference between these guys and, Justin Herbert, and you see why the game ended the way that it did. It's because they played competitively. They weren't getting sloppy with it.
Yeah.
And that's why the Chargers just fell short. These turnovers are just so crucial. And because they're able to control it, I mean, they were both so competitive in the game for the entirety of it.
Yeah, I mean Baker was surgical, 15 of 18 for like 180 yards or whatever, a couple touchdowns,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I feel like they should be throwing it more. To have him only throw 18 times, a quarterback that threw for like
yeah.
39 touchdowns this year,
It is
and
odd.
you only have 18 pass attempts. I feel like you might have, on those like second and one, third and one,
Hmm.
fourth and whatever plays, like have him throw it. I mean, that's clearly your strength. I thought that was a little bit of a blunder.
Yeah.
But anyways, here's the true shocker to me. I know you called this upset, but I really thought the Vikings would come in with passion in this game after losing to Detroit. We seen them lose to the Rams earlier in the season. Kind of a fluky loss. The Rams had gotten their players back at
Hmm.
that point, had gotten healthier, but do we really think that the Rams are good enough to sweep the 14-win Vikings? Like, I mean, I know you called it, but like, I think this was a huge surprise. You're playing in Arizona where there's probably just as many Vikings fans as there were Rams fans, and you can't do anything. Sam Darnold just holding on to the football, taking all these sacks. Like you thought maybe after the
Yeah.
third, after the fourth sack, he's going to just start spitting the ball out and they're going to start calling plays that allow him to do that. But no, how about you get sacked five more times after that? It's just utterly unbelievable how such an impressive regular season team collapsed here in the postseason
Yeah.
in a really, really winnable game here on the road in Arizona.
Hmm.
I just really thought this was there for the taking for them. And it's not like the Rams were like amazing. I thought
Hmm.
offensively, early they were good, but then they just capitalized on the turnovers and just really pinned their ears back and got after Darnold. And it was kind of easy after you get up 21 points.
Right. Yeah, I mean this was one of the most winnable games that the Vikings could have been given, and they really did fall short here. I picked the Rams though, just out of kind of experience at QB. Sam Darnold is not an experienced playoff caliber quarterback, whereas Matt Stafford has been to the playoffs before. He's got
Mhm.
a lot of years under his belt, and he can handle himself in these situations. And yeah, I just had a feeling about the Rams, but I will say they're kind of a back and forth team, a little wishy-washy. Sometimes they've got these games where they're blowing out teams who did super well this season. Then you've got other games where they lose to bozo kind of teams. I mean, they're just a hard team to figure out this year, but they put it together for this big game, and they got another one next week, so we'll see if they can do it again.
Yeah, I mean, with all the rest and preparation time, I think that really benefited, a veteran quarterback here. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, Sam Darnold had lost himself probably, $10 million going into this game and lost himself another 10 to 20 million dollars, just
Yeah.
thinking about contracts for the, next 4 or 5 years here. That's really tough. I feel bad for the guy because he did have an elite regular
Yeah.
season and played, he played well against good teams in the regular season, except for
Hmm.
the Lions and the Rams. It's
Yep.
gonna sting, man. You lost 4 games all year, both of them to the Lions and the Rams. That's gotta hurt.
Indeed it does. Yeah.
As for my best bets, it was pretty much an even split. I got the spread right, Washington, but most of the over, I mean, actually all the overs except for Chargers, Houston didn't hit. I know I said in the episode last week, in the playoffs, you usually want to lead unders, but I didn't lean unders. I left overs and it hurt. I mean, I really just didn't expect there to be so many blowouts. Like I thought Pittsburgh would put up more than 14. I thought what else? Denver would have put up more than like 7 points. So I think that's really
Yeah.
where I suffered. But I mean, I think I came out maybe, breaking even or just under that. But moving on to our division picks and predictions here. 4 games. Let's tear into it. Saturday afternoon, Houston at Kansas City. I think Houston they're a tough team here. Like I said, CJ Stroud much better at home than on the road. We've seen this game just a few weeks ago on Christmas in which Kansas City really, I think it was the week before Christmas. Kansas City took over that game. It was close there for a little bit, but ended up not being so. I'm on a roll with Kansas City here, but do I think they're good enough to take 8 points? I don't know. I mean, maybe with all this rest, I mean, Patrick Mahomes not playing since Christmas Day. I mean, is he
Hmm.
rusty? Is he rested? I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. 8 points seems like a lot, so I'm going to take Houston to cover and the over 41.5, which is just abysmally low. Four teams that are, they really have offensive power. I mean, all the stars that you would think of on these two teams are offensive, except for maybe like Danielle Hunter. But I'm going to take the Chiefs. Houston hopefully can keep this one closer than they did last time.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the over specifically in this game. I know it's calling for some snow, could make for a little bit
Yeah.
of a rocky situation there. I'm also taking the Chiefs here. Houston, like they had a good record this season. They win their division. We've talked about it before. Their wins this season weren't all that great. I mean, they didn't really
No.
seem to beat many good teams. And I, I really think they got lucky last week against the Chargers. Just Chargers had a very poor game. I mean, Houston is fine. They're not the team to beat the Chiefs. I mean, this is a winnable game for most other teams. I mean, the Chiefs can definitely be beaten. Houston's not the team to do it though. It's not in the cards for them.
No, yeah, I mean, whoever comes out of the Baltimore-Buffalo game has much better of a shot of
Yeah.
beating the Chiefs than the Texans here. And I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
everyone would agree with that. I think that there's a chance that Buffalo could even be favored against the Chiefs next week, considering
I
how they
think they
play
would be.
against Baltimore, maybe vice versa. I do
Yeah.
think Baltimore might have a slight better chance of beating the Chiefs, but I am not picking them. We'll
Hmm.
get to that in a second. We have Washington at Detroit here to conclude Saturday. I'm going to take Detroit. I do think it's a lot of points to give the Commanders, but I will take Detroit to cover. That being said, just coming off the rest, and it's behooved you to take the favorite in a lot of these playoff games with larger spreads. Against, the spread, the favorite has been dominating in college and the pros here. Obviously, the Rams and the Texans, being the outliers, but I feel good about the Lions here. I think they got a really good draw, a really nice path to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And, the Commanders, again, like Denver, they're ahead of schedule, winning a playoff game, 13 wins for Jaden Daniels' first year is remarkable. I think that next year they will challenge for a division title and maybe be able to go deeper into the playoffs. But it's been great, but it's probably time. There's only like three rookie quarterbacks ever, I think, that have won
Right.
multiple playoff games, right? So it's time for Jaden Daniels to cash it up. But it's very reminiscent of C.J. Stroud last year against the
Hmm.
Ravens in the division round. You kind of got blown out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely here. It's going to be Detroit for this game. Jaden Daniels, yeah, like you said, great season, but it just comes down to again that quarterback experience. He doesn't know how to really handle himself in these playoff games just quite yet. And Jared Goff has been there before. He did it last year. I mean, he he's got the experience in the playoffs. Detroit's electric. They're rested up. I mean, they've got they've basically got this game in the bag. This is pretty much the most favorable matchup on the board, in my opinion. I'd be really surprised if it went any way other than towards Detroit.
I agree, absolutely. And then you got Rams at Philadelphia. This is the hardest game of the weekend for me to pick. I'm going to take the Eagles here. I just feel like they have one of the best rosters, if not the best
Hmm.
roster in the NFL. Jalen Hurts getting healthier. Think he was still a little fuzzy from the concussion this past game here. But that being said, he didn't even play that bad. I just think that they really leaned on Saquon Barkley, who is the star of the team, I would say. I think Saquon Barkley has become the star of the team, whereas
Yep.
Derrick Henry might not fully be in that role, doesn't quite have the personality that Whistler does. So I'm
Hmm.
going to take the Eagles here, but I don't feel amazing about this pick. I think this will be one of the better games of the week. I think those first two Saturday games, not great. Chances of
Yeah.
blowouts. These two, though,
Right.
on Sunday, much better chance of being competitive. I'm worried about the Rams with all the back and forth. LA
Yep.
fires, Arizona. Now you have to go all the way out to the East Coast. Could be a little difficult for a team that also, they're young on the defensive side of the ball. And again, not super offensively potent as we, have seen against, the 49ers a few weeks ago. They really should have lost to the Cardinals. The second to last week of the season had, the interception at the goal line not happen. So I just think
Hmm.
they'll come back to the mean a little bit, but I don't feel amazing about this one. I would love to see the Rams win. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm going to take Philly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good pick. I'm gonna take the Rams here, though. I really liked what I saw last week. I just want to kind of ride them while they're still hot, and hopefully it can last more than 1 week since they seem to vacillate so much between good 1 week, not so good the next. Yeah, like you said though, definitely going to be a good matchup. Excited to see how it plays out. I did not think it was, however, the hardest game on the schedule to pick. I'm surprised that you said you had more difficulty in picking this one than the next one, Baltimore at Buffalo. I mean, that game feels like a Super Bowl caliber game right there. I mean, I don't know. Don't you feel like that one was also a tough one to pick?
Yeah, I think, you would think so, but I really like Buffalo in this spot. I think for two reasons in particular. I think Buffalo is one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. It's definitely top
Yeah.
three. There might be, you could always argue a couple more, but I really think an argument could be made that Buffalo has the best home field advantage in the NFL. They're calling for snow, which you
Yep.
might say benefits the Ravens for being more of a power run team. Maybe it does, but that home field advantage with the weather in mind is so powerful. And the second thing is the Ravens blew out Buffalo earlier in the season. And again, it's so hard to beat a team twice, let alone three times if that situation had popped up in the same season. I think the Bills are going to be hungry for revenge for what happened to them. It was one of their
Hmm.
only few losses this season. I really think they are going to want to get the Ravens back, tag them back here. And if it was in Baltimore, I'd probably lean Baltimore, but it's in Buffalo here, and that is just so huge. The Ravens had a couple fluky losses. They lost to the Raiders, they
Yeah.
lost to the Browns during the regular season. That has cost them the two seed here, which in this situation, is very, very valuable. I mean, you think the two and the three seed both great, but it comes down to who gets this home field game. And I really think that Buffalo, will take advantage of it. Josh Allen, playing just incredibly, and so is Lamar Jackson. But a
Hmm.
few years ago in the playoffs, Buffalo actually blew out Baltimore, and I know that probably won't happen here. I think Buffalo and plus money at home is one of the best bets you'll find. There's just so much value in that. And while
Yeah.
Baltimore could win this game, I think Buffalo is currently the best looking team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, no, I like the pick. It's just Baltimore really scares me. Lamar and Derrick Henry are just both kind of have that X factor to me that they could just swing the outcome of a game. They're just so unpredictable together. It's just it scares me. I mean, I'm picking Buffalo. I'm picking Buffalo. I want to see them win, but it just this is like one of the scariest games for me. And man, I do not love their path to get to the Super Bowl at all. Like you're telling me in order for Allen to get a ring, he's got to take down the Ravens, likely the Chiefs, and then probably like Detroit in the Super Bowl. I mean, that is like a really hard path to take to get a ring for
Yeah.
Allen. And I mean, I'd love to see him do it, but he's got an absolute gauntlet ahead of him.
Hey, well, at least one, he is favored to win the MVP. And
Hmm.
two, what you're describing sounds a lot like Ohio State's path, who had to take down two juggernaut SEC teams, the number one ranked team in the nation, Oregon,
Right.
and now we'll have to go on to beat Notre Dame, whose only loss was to Northern Illinois and a Notre
Yeah.
Dame team that had beaten Penn State and Georgia to get here. So, sometimes these teams just go on these runs, and it really is impressive the gauntlet that they rack up in terms of the wins here. It's gonna be tough though to win the Super Bowl for sure, but
Yeah.
all I'm saying though is whoever comes out of this game beats the Chiefs next week. That's all I can
I
ask.
I would pick them. I would pick them over the Chiefs for sure.
If Buffalo like wins this game, they better beat the Chiefs because I think that the
Hmm.
Ravens, having lost in week one on that fluky play, has a better shot of beating the Chiefs in the postseason than Buffalo, who kind of dominated them in the regular season.
Yep.
I like
Hmm.
the sweeping. It just doesn't happen. The Rams swept the Vikings. That is very rare. That is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
I just
No.
don't see sweeps like that all that often.
No, I'm with you, man. I like the pick for sure.
So there we have it. Now I'm just going to launch really quickly into my best bets on all this. Houston plus 8, over 41.5 in that game, like I said. Washington, Detroit under 55.5, though. That is incredibly high. I know it's indoors. I know these two teams have much more potent offenses than they do defenses, but I like the under. I'm going to take Detroit minus 9.5, like I said. These playoff favorites have proven to be the side. Rams, Philadelphia over 43.5. I know that, the weather's a factor, but they're just so low, these two. The 41.5, 43.5, that's so low. I like the over. I also like Rams plus 6. You're taking them straight up. I like them plus 6. I'd love if that line moves as the week goes on, 6.5, 7, maybe even 7.5. Oh my God, I would love that. Then
Hmm.
I'm going to take Buffalo on the money line plus 100. I bet by the time kickoff is for that game, Buffalo is not an underdog. And then the under 51.5 in that game, it is supposed to snow. I do think this is going to be a tight 24, man, 24-20, 24-23 type of game. I really do think
Yeah.
this one's going to be tight and just hit on the under there.
I like the pick so much, dude. I was just like looking at your slate, like hooking up my own best bets. I'm like, I'm not sure there's even one I would
Hmm,
disagree with here, but like
really?
the one I like the best is that under for Baltimore Buffalo.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. as you did, under 51.5. This could be one of those games where they're trudging through the snow, tough to score situation like that. So that's the one that I'm putting the most stock in out of your picks there.
Awesome. Yeah, no. Hopefully, I mean, it would be hard to get over that with the weather and, just the playoff environment. Both these defenses have struggled at times, but I think they'll show up here in this playoff game.
I like it.
Do we have any fan mail or no?
Jimbo sent in his playoff picks here. Mid-game, he was taking the Chargers while they were down. Um,
Mid-game picks. Whoa.
Mid-game, yeah, so
God,
they
dude,
were
we make
down.
these picks on like Monday and Tuesday, and we got Jimmy over here making a mid-game.
It
You
was
know how
bold
many
though.
more I'd get right if I was picking mid-game?
What a bold strategy though. Picking it mid-game while they're down. I mean,
Yeah, no,
it didn't play out for
that
him,
was
but it
probably
was
only like
still,
one interception deep at that point. Little did he know
yeah.
Justin Herbert had three more in the tank.
Yeah, no, that's tough situation to be in there. Looks like he went for actually no, 3-3 here. The homerism bias taking the Bucs here did not
Yeah.
play out for him as the Commanders got the dub and also took the Vikings here as well. And the Rams we know won that one.
Yeah, no, I feel like the Vikings was a very popular pick. I really still love that pick, man. But hey, at least the under hit, which I really liked as well. But
Yeah.
good stuff all around there. I'm excited for these games. I'm definitely excited for more so Sunday than Saturday, and then very nervous for Monday. We all know what Monday is. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna
Oh,
take Ohio State to cover. Actually, you
to
could bite
cover?
Ohio State. Take Ohio State. Bump 20 and a
Rats,
half. I'd take him 20 and a half, minus 20 and a half.
bro, 20 and a half?
Hey,
That's insane behavior. No,
there
what are
are
you doing?
okay,
You
two
can't call
other
yourself a
national
Notre
cha
Dame fan, bro.
I'm emotional hedging. You know me. Two other national championships where the spread was this large, okay? Georgia, TCU. That game was like 63-7, okay? Georgia covered the 9.5 easily. The other one, Alabama versus Ohio State, in which Alabama also easily covered that spread. So the trends historically work against Notre Dame here, okay?
Law of
Now,
averages.
obviously, yes. Now, maybe things will change. Ohio State actually is seated below Notre Dame, in the four team rather. Ohio State wouldn't have made it. I think Notre Dame would have made a four-team playoff. Ohio State certainly would not have. All that being said, though, you got an emotional hedge bet, your life. I feel like hedging is always the way to go. My friends make fun of me all the time, though. Like, I told actually one of my friends about what we did in our fantasy football league, and they criticized me. They condemned me for it. But that is just how I go about life. So,
I'd rather take the extra coin, bro. It's better to split the profits that way than risk
yeah.
losing
I
the
mean,
extra
who
money.
who knew I was gonna have the best fantasy like week of my life? I mean, I didn't.
I mean, I predicted that you would, so I was like,
That
I
was
gotta see
very
if he'll
wise
split
on your
this.
part, dude. What a
I
play. What
know,
a
but
play.
it was a surgical play. I mean, I needed to get some extra coin, and I know that you're quite risk averse. So I had a
Yeah.
strong inclination that you would accept the plea deal, and it worked out in my
Yeah.
favor. I sent a text and I got an extra 175 for it.
Yeah,
So
for those wondering, we both made our fantasy football league championship, and we just split the pot for first place
yeah, yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Although, the Wednesday games had already happened, but it was still, I think, a 50-50% chance in terms of probability. This was right before the Bears played the
Hmm.
Seahawks, and I think you had DJ Moore, who was slightly under his production, but going into the Saturday and Sunday, it was still like anyone's game. But
Yeah.
then the Broncos Bengals game happened in which I had Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, and it kind of got out of hand from there. It's
Right.
funny. If I actually switched out my kicker, I dropped that Cameron Dicker of the Chargers and added Will Riker to the Vikings. If I had kept Cameron Dicker, I would have had like 10 more points. That's how crazy it was.
I know, dude. I mean, putting up 200 plus points in the championship is ungodly and honestly embarrassing that you even had to face an opponent that barely
Yeah,
scored half
dude.
of that.
They shouldn't
So,
have let you in the playoffs. I don't even know like the committee for our league. Why
I
would they
know.
even let you in?
Dude, I told you that you were a locksmith to win that game, that my team was not playoff caliber. I just snuck in because I had some sneaky good luck at the start of the season.
No, well, it was great. I'm totally cool with how it all ended up going. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, same here. Very cool with it.
All right, man. Well, I don't have anything else. Enjoy the playoffs. Do you?
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good weekend, everyone, and root for Buffalo and definitely go Irish, although you
Yeah.
don't seem to feel the same way.
Oh, trust me, I was like shaking during the Penn State game. I am so emotionally invested in this that I have to do like very deliberate functions to protect myself emotionally. You know, that's how
Mhm.
bad it is. But all right, we'll see what happens this upcoming week. We'll be back hopefully Monday, maybe. We'd have to probably do it Monday because I'll be
Okay,
leaving on Tuesday. We'll
sounds
see you
good.
guys later. Bye now.